Hi guys, my name's Doug. Welcome to My Messy Garage. In today's video, we're going to be making a few modifications to my Gladius Mini underwater ROV. Follow along, see how I did it. Thanks for watching. Here we are at the beginning of the project. What we're going to be using is standard PVC water fittings. It's a cap, a bunch of T's, some 45s, and of course a bunch of pipe. We've got our PVC purple primer and clear PVC cement package. Quite honestly, I'm not in a big rush to glue all this together. I want to kind of put everything so that it fits, and then we'll put it together. I took some measurements of the Gladius, just some, basic information. That's a place where we will start from. And what I'm planning on doing is building some 3D printed mounting pads that come off and provide us a place to attach. These bosses here, boss, I guess you'd call it the boss, where we access the screws. I'm thinking that if we force the appropriate sized bolt or machine screw into those holes, we can kind of sort of cut a thread into them without doing any damage to the hull. One other option would be is to pull these screws out and find ones that are long enough that we can attach to, or the other thing that you could do, this is hollow, there's not really anything inside here. We could conceivably drill a couple of small holes in the hull of the machine and tie wrap pipes to it. So let me grab some pipe and we will start cutting some pieces to length and see what we can come up with. First thing we're going to try and lay out is the pieces that will run parallel to the hull. And center to center, I'm showing about 140 millimeters or 5.5 inches. If we make this about 160 millimeters, that should give us, let's go for 180. That gives us a nice distance off of the end. We don't want to make this too heavy, but at the same time we don't want it to be flimsy and fall off. For cutting, we'll use this ratcheting pipe cutter. Not the squarest cut in the world. Something tells me I'll have to clean that up with a file or some sandpaper. We'll throw a couple of T's on the end. Basically what we're going to have is something along those lines right there. One thing I played around with a little bit, and I found that the balance point is kind of right in the middle of the lead weight that is screwed into the bottom of the hull here. So probably, we'll try that. There we have two pieces that will attach here somehow. Now we need to decide how high we want this. The minimum that we have to clear this nice hump is going to be 1.5 inches, 2 inches, call it 4 or 5 centimeters. Theoretically, we could set it to something along those lines there. But there's two things that I don't really like about the Gladius Mini. The first is that it tends to slam into the bottom and suck debris up into the motors. The second thing that I don't like about the Gladius Mini is it doesn't have a grabber claw. I don't know if there's a whole lot I can do about the lack of a grabber claw on this machine. There's not really a great way of controlling the grabber claw through the radio system. There isn't an auxiliary port. Chasing does make the M2. It's quite a bit more money than the Gladius Mini, and it does have an optional grabber claw available for it, $600 or something. By the time you buy the M2 and the grabber claw, you're probably going to be in the neighborhood of $4,200, $4,500 US. If my numbers are correct, or if my understanding of the numbers is correct. A little bit more than what I've got invested in the Gladius Mini. So for height, I want to leave the option that I can include a future grabber claw. I don't know whether this is going to have enough power with the 3 vertical thrusters or the 2 forward thrusters to be able to handle picking anything of any weight up. Matter of fact, these landing legs might be too much. But let's kind of design, future-proof this into our design, and then we can do that at a future date if we decide to. Here I have the kind of laid out what I'm thinking. Probably cut a 100mm piece to go in there. That should give us about that much space. I plan on canting the legs in just a little bit so that the footprint is wider. Let me cut off 4 100mm pieces and we'll see how they look. So I'm guessing we need another 180mm piece to go in between, but I think what I want to do is put cross pieces in there. I'm going to put cross pieces in there, put a T here at the back that comes straight across, and lengthwise another one at the front to support any, well, it's going to provide support across, and it's also going to allow us to support any future cargo carrying capability that we want to design. So basically what we're going to need is a bunch of short couplers. Here's our legs, basically kind of roughed out. And I made up a couple of cross pieces while I was cutting. And the T's in the middle are going to be our attach points for future carrying capability. Now we need some tips on the skis. That's what I got these little 45s for. After several attempts to design something that's going to join the landing gear legs that we've built for the drone to the drone, we have something that should work. The radius here should work nicely to match the drone, line up with these holes. Approximately gets the pipe to line up with the seam on the body. Ideally, we want the legs to be pretty close to parallel to the longitudinal axis of the drone, or a line, imaginary line drawn through the middle of it. And hopefully this will work. Anyways, first step is we have to tap some holes. Let me dig out 1/4-inch tap, and I will run them down here into these bosses. The screws, or the bolts that I'm using, actually kind of start into the hole, but we want the threads to be cut with a proper tap. That mounts quite nicely. Let me grab a wrench and we'll snug those up. Oh, there we go. That's snugged up quite nicely. The pipe is still not glued together. It's just kind of stuck together. You may recall when I was designing this thing, my idea was to have the legs kind of coming out a little bit. And right now they are slightly inward. And I don't think that really matters. It still has a very nice wide footprint. One other problem that I do see, however, is I don't believe that is going to fit. The purpose of this project was not necessarily to mount the tube that will eventually become the claw, if it's going to work. It was just to get this mounted. If I decide that I want to proceed with mounting the claw, I can always add just a little bit of height to the legs here. And once again, the grabber tube will have enough clearance to clear the bottom of this. What happened originally when I was taking my measurements, I had intended on having this kind of right here, and as you can see, it's a good inch higher than where I had originally intended it to be. However, the design works well and it keeps these tubes away from the thrusters. So now the next step we need to go try this in my hot tub. Here is my inflatable Intex hot tub with very, very cold water in it. Turn on the Gladius Mini, we turn on its remote, and my iPad recognizes that the Gladius is alive and well. We'll do a little recording with the Gladius, and let's see if we can find the LED light. As you can see here, the Gladius seems to handle fairly well with the legs installed. I think we'll call this one a success. Hopefully this will keep the thrusters from landing in the mud when I'm getting close to the bottom. It'll make the Gladius a little more useful. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you got this far, I'd appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up like, and leave me a comment down below if you want me to upload the 3D files that I used to print the mounting brackets for the Gladius Mini on a share site like Thingiverse. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. For more great content from Doug's Messy Garage, click on one of the videos that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Thanks for watching.